everyone, welcome back to another video with Life on the Roads. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a different style. We are going to be doing a sit down style video because I did start vlogging today and it was very, very apparent that today was not the day to vlog. If you've been with us for a while, you know that we've been really struggling with our daughter, Kaylee. She is our middle daughter. We have 3 girls, ages 7, 6, and 4. And Kaylee, ever since pretty much the day that she's born, has just been a struggle. So if you've been following us since the beginning, or even if you're new and you've probably figured it out by now, we have been working on figuring out what is going on up there with Kaylee and just trying to get her the help she needs to get through everyday life. So we've been struggling, battling the medical field, doctors, pediatricians, everybody, because Kaylee has always just been abnormally difficult. And we've gone through so long of hearing, oh, my kid does that, or all kids do that, or no kids like putting on their shoes, or she's still 2, she's still 3, she's still 4, it's gonna get better as she gets older. You know, all those things, and all these people with typical children trying to invalidate that your child is different, where like they think that they're having the same struggle as you are. And I get it, everybody's struggles are difficult to them, so I don't discredit anybody else's struggle. If you have a neurotypical child and you're struggling, that is totally valid to you. What's wrong is to invalidate my struggles as a parent. It's not okay to take my struggles as a mom with special needs and try to compare it to somebody who has a typical child and think that they're dealing with the same kid, because that is not at all what's happening here. So we went through years and years and years and years of just being put down that you're bad parents or your child is just really bad or anything like that. And that's not the case at all. So when you're listening to this and you're about to hear what you're going to hear with our diagnostic testing and all kinds of stuff, if you're a parent that's dealing with this or you think you're dealing with this, you're probably going through a similar thing. And I'm sorry for other parents that have to go through that have to go through their everyday life being told that their child is normal when you really know that's not the case. So starting from a really young age, Kaylee was always just like a light switch. Like she'd be fine and then something minor would happen and then all of a sudden we're explosive. And we've just known that that is not like a normal level of explosive. Like kids get frustrated pretty easily, but Kaylee's level of frustration is like astronomical, to the point where like our whole day up to our entire week can be ruined over the fact that like she dropped a french fry while we were eating dinner. Like that's not normal. Kaylee has always been advanced. So she hit all of her milestones. She was walking early. She was talking early. She was counting early. She could do addition and multiplication by the time she was 4 years old. She was very advanced, very, very advanced. So a lot of the times we were just put into the situation where the doctors were like, she's so smart, but her body can't keep up. So there's this disconnect where her brain's working here and her body can only work here and it can't connect. So she's frustrated. Fine, we'll go with that for a little while. Things weren't getting any better. Things were getting worse and worse and worse over time. And then it comes to where she's 3, 4 years old. Oh, well, she's a 3-year-old, so that's typical. Oh, she's a 4-year-old, that's typical. Just wait until she's in school. Oh, she's in school now. Well, maybe school's gonna help out a little bit. And it just got to the point where nobody was listening, that we needed to have our child evaluated. Meanwhile, my oldest daughter, Madeline, who is like so sweet and so chill, and she doesn't break the rules, and she keeps to herself, and she keeps things clean and organized, like the total opposite of Kaylee. When we started noticing her sensory issues with autism, they were like, sure, let's have her evaluated. Like, it was so easy to get my child that could have slipped under the radar into an eval, while my child, who is like raging red flags with problems, was just being ignored. So finally, we went into the doctor's office one day and I was like, I'm getting this eval. I'm having her sent to behavioral health. I'm not taking no for an answer. And we got there and she had one of her meltdowns and she destroyed the doctor's room. Flipped the chairs. She ripped all the paper off of the tables. She threw the printer off the floor. Everything was everywhere. When the doctor came in, she started throwing the pillows at the doctor and hitting the doctor with stuff. And I'm like, do you think maybe maybe you could send my child for an eval now. And they're like, yeah, we probably should do that, but please don't come back to this practice. We've been told by 3 doctors now, please don't come back. So my child is not neurotypical, as people have been trying to tell me for 4 or 5 years of my life, and it's exhausting. So fast forward, it took us a whole year to get in for that evaluation. I nasty grammed people, I called people, I sent in complaints, I did everything, because I would call and they said, hey, you have a 3-month wait. I'd call back in the 3 months. Oh yeah, you still have another 6 months to go. And then the last time I called back, they said I still had to wait until February. It's still not February, by the way, when I'm making this. They told me I was going to wait until February to get in. And at that point, I had started calling the office managers and stuff. I'm like, listen, I've been waiting so long. My life is going down the toilet right now because we need help so bad. You have to get me in now. Like, it's unacceptable at this point. So I was transferred over to the same place that Madeline went, and they got me in within like 3 weeks. So after that, we ended up getting diagnosed with autism level 1 and anxiety. So Madeline's is autism level 1 with anxiety, where her anxiety stems from the overstimulation from her autism that causes her to have anxiety. Kaylee got autism level 1 and also anxiety. So 2 separate diagnoses, 2 separate ones. They weren't like lumped together. So now that we had the autism part of this figured out, the next thing was to be referred out to do a pathological demand avoidance affirming evaluation. We are in the United States. There is no insurance code or medical code for PDA. So it has to be evaluated through like an affirming evaluation. They basically diagnose it, but because there's no insurance code or medical code for it, it goes in as like a secondary clause. So her medical files would say autism, and then on the profile of pathological demand avoidance, so that she still gets the diagnosis, but it's not its own diagnosis. It's just a subcategory under autism. I don't know if that makes sense. But currently you can't get just a diagnosis of PDA. It's not possible in the United States. So we went and we found, just kind of like went around and figured out who we wanted to do that, because most insurances aren't going to cover this secondary eval. Since you've already had an eval before, some places work with insurance, other people don't work with insurance. There are really only about a dozen people in the United States that are certified to do this evaluation. So finding somebody and finding the time to do it is really tricky. So we found somebody named Megan Aggie, and she is in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm gonna leave a list down below from the PDA association of people who can diagnose your child in the United States, and you can pick somebody that's close to you. We went with her because, one, she was the closest and she was going to be the least expensive out of pocket. So her evaluation cost $1,500. I had contacted people that were upwards of $3,000, $6,000, and even $8,000 out of pocket to have these evaluations done, just because it is so rare and so little people, so not so many people are able to diagnose it. It's really like a really specific type of evaluation, and since there's not a lot of people that can do it, they can charge a lot to do it, I guess. I don't know, like cost and demand, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so ours cost $1,500 to do, and we did already hit our out-of-pocket maximum, which was $10,000 of our insurance. So our insurance did offer to cover all but the build time for this. So our insurance did end up covering $1,000 of it, and we paid $500 out of pocket in the end. I'll take it. If you're dealing with what I'm dealing with right now, $500 is well worth your money to start getting the help you need for your child's problem. And of course, just for the peace of mind, because this whole time we've been thinking, yeah, she has PDA, but it could always come back negative, and then we need to like look for something else. But just to like get that confirmation, like finally we know what's happening, you can't put a price on that. I mean, I know not everybody has that amount of money, but at the same time, like if I had to pay $8,000 somewhere, I would have gotten a second job, or I would have fundraise. I don't know. I would have done something, because there's no price on the relief that we have felt from finally knowing and understanding what is happening to Kaylee. So we had to travel to North Carolina for this. We did about a 2-hour session where she observed Kaylee. We did a lot of testing. We did a lot of forms. We came home with forms and testing and observations and all kinds of stuff that a bunch of people around us had to fill out. You know, teachers, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, like we had all these things that people had to fill out and provide for that. So we just got our results back, and what this has come down to now is that she has been diagnosed with autism level 2, which is moderate. And the reason she's getting level 2 is because it is depending on how much care she needs, the level of assistance she needs to get through every single day. Somebody with a level 3 would be like a nonverbal, can't feed themselves, can't bathe themselves. Like they're going to require lifelong assistance for their entire life. They're going to need to have somebody there. Kaylee is kind of like on the edge with how she functions every day. She's able to be independent a lot throughout the day, but then there's a lot of things that she really struggles with. So Kaylee's kind of in that like limbo in between of like, is she ever going to be able to live independently? Is she going to live with us full time for the rest of her life? Something like that. To me, I think she's going to be able to live independently on her own or in a relationship with somebody else and have kids and, you know, a typical life, as long as we can get her the correct services that she needs. So, autism level 2, she got ADHD, she did get pathological demand avoidance, and she also got OCD, but as a 6-year-old, you can't legally put OCD on their medical files at that age. It's too young. So she will have to go back at some point somewhere, whether it's the same evaluator or behavioral health or whatever, to get that OCD added to her file and be reevaluated for it. However, the OCD is incredibly obvious throughout your day. And the thing that we have with this is that pathological demand avoidance is a nervous system disability that causes that fight, flight, or freeze mode in a person. Kaylee's always comes out as fight. So we get the screaming, we get the shouting, we get the throwing things, the threatening of things. Hers is always fight. Rarely is it the other two. Almost never is it the other two. Now with OCD, her OCD is very much about like the germs and the clean and the things can't touch me and things can't touch that, and is my iPad clean, is my bed clean? So she's constantly going through these ritualistic washing her hands, making sure we like wipe down her iPad before she uses it. If she touches her feet, she has to wash her hands. If she didn't wash her hands and then she scratches her nose, then we have an issue. So she's constantly having these OCD episodes. And if one of these OCD episodes ends up being something where she got her hands dirty or she sneezed on her iPad and now it's dirty, now she also has the OCD episode on top of the loss of autonomy episode. And now we've got OCD and PDA working conjunctively together to cause this mega massive explosion of emotions. And it's really hard to get her to come out of something like that. So a lot of times our whole day is just done. And so that's why we're doing the sit down video today. I started vlogging and she had one of those OCD episodes and it led into a PDA episode, and now we're not gonna vlog. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a lot of videos about PDA now that she has the diagnosis. I keep saying once she has a diagnosis, I'm gonna make a lot of these videos. I really want to educate people. It's so unknown to a lot of people. So many people don't know it exists. Their kids are getting misdiagnosed with things. Adults are getting misdiagnosed with things. I really just want to spread the word. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, well, why would you put her medical problems out here on the internet and blah, blah, blah. The way that she is currently, you can't hide it. So like, there's a lot of, hidden disabilities or invisible disabilities. Like I have ADHD, I have sensory processing, I have auditory processing, I have a writing disorder called dysgraphia. And actually, just like 5 days from now, I'm going for my own neuropsychological evaluation for autism. So like, I'm open about it. I don't care. But most people might not want to label their child or might not tell people like, hey, my child has autism, blah, blah, blah. Kaylee is not that kid. Kaylee is not the kid that we can like take out into public and she would just fly under the radar and maybe have a few hiccups here and there. It's not like that. Kaylee is like, if I were to like get in a car crash and amputate my arm and now I have no arm, I can't just go into public afterward and be like, oh yeah, it's still there. You see it? It's still there. Like, it's like, people are going to look at you and be like, oh, that person doesn't have an arm. You know, like, or you see the other kids walking around that like look at people like, oh, that person doesn't have an arm. I wonder why they don't have an arm. Like, you can't discreetly hide that you no longer have an arm, right? That's how Kaylee is out in public or in other areas. It's very obvious to other people that there is something a little abnormal about her. And I don't want to like say that in a mean way, like about my own child. Like, she's normal to me. We love her. She's perfect. I'm not going to change anything about her, kind of thing. But just the way that she is in public, people are going to stare at us. People are going to look at us. People are going to know that we are not neurotypical. It's not something that I can hide from people. So I have to tell people, she's doing this because she's autistic. She's doing this because she has a nervous system disability. Like, I have to explain why she's doing things and how she's doing them to people. I can't hide it. It's not something that can be hidden. And at this point, the biggest thing is that there is not a lot of help for these kids. It's not very well known, especially here in the States. Other places have a lot more help for kids with this disability. In the States, it's not that well known. There's not a lot out about it yet. So my biggest goal is just to educate people. I want to let people know, hey, this exists. This is what it looks like. This is how we handle it. And let other people have a peace of mind knowing that like they're not alone. If they're experiencing this, they're not alone. I had to fight for 4 years to get to this point for the diagnosis. There's other people out there doing the same thing. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll definitely do like a Q&A session for pathological demand avoidance. So if you want to know anything about it, you have any questions, you have any concerns, whatever, leave them down below. I would love to answer them, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Bye guys.